welcome to South Ucois TV. It's me, Marlon, hosting today's match reaction. Big up to guys in the chat and big up to everyone. Just so you know, if you don't know, it finished Tottenham 1, Aston Villa 2 at the Tottenham Hotspur Stadium. But hey, it's not here. You're not here for me. You're here for my guests. So let me bring them out. Justin, welcome. Hope you are well.
I was.
Orion, hope you are well as well, my friend.
Yep.
So it has finished Tottenham 1, Aston Villa 2. Most fans expected it, if you're being honest, considering our injuries. So let's get straight into it. So we obviously started with Vicario, Porro, Royale, Davis, Udogie, Bentancur, Lo Celso, Johnson, Kulusevski, Hill, and Son up top. JJ, I come to you. You saw that lineup. What was you expecting from what was you expecting when you saw that lineup with two fullbacks at centre back?
I'll be honest, I was actually at first slightly positive because I must admit, I thought when I looked at the fact that he was going to give Bentancur and Lo Celso and Kulusevski as the sort of the middle three, I thought, okay, that's good. It's something different. He's trying something with regards to that. In terms of at the back, I'm not going to lie, I was worried because four fullbacks, when you have got two centre backs on the bench, and I know people have been critical of Dyer, but you've got four fullbacks and then two centre backs. I did sit there and think that Tottenham are going to have to go out there and outscore Villa. That was my feeling going into the game, and I could get what he was going for, was they were going to go out there and that they were going to have to outscore Villa. But the problem was always going to be if Villa dealt with our attack or managed them, or that we weren't clinical enough, we were going to get punished. And that's what happened, basically. So I was upbeat when I saw it, but then as the game unfolded, I wasn't surprised because I thought I knew what was coming.
Mr. Orion, Mr. Spurs, the one who caused all this to happen. And I'm going to explain why he caused this to happen. Before we went 1-0 up against Chelsea,
yeah,
I got a little text from somebody, didn't I? I got a message saying, I told you we're about to batter someone, this, that, and the other. And I went, don't go too early.
Orion, how long have you supported Spurs?
Since then, we've had
injuries,
nobody does that with Spurs. No one.
I mean, I don't think in any. I was in supporting Spurs for almost 30 years. I've watched as many games as I possibly can, and I've never seen a game like that. Even as a football fan, I have never seen a game the way that game happened. Like, to have both centre backs go off in the space of 5 minutes, then Maddison to go off, playing down to 9 men. I was like, what am I watching here? I mean, if everything could have gone wrong in one game for any Premiership team, that was it. I think history will show that you'll never see a game like that again. So
since then,
I guess it, but at the same time, it's kind of like, to answer the first question, any team that came out, and even against Man City, I'm kind of like, it's interesting. I don't expect Spurs to win because they're not playing with any centre backs. It's not even a case of having a recognised centre backs. They're not playing with any centre backs, and so therefore, what I enjoyed watching though was the fact that against Wolves and not so much against Wolves, but against Aston Villa, Spurs had chances and they were still playing really good football. The two Villa goals one came from a set piece, one came from that, how it arrived. But then again, that was based on not having two central defenders. So for me, it's like, okay, yes, Spurs have lost 3 games, but it hasn't been 3 games where they've had a full team. It's been 2 games where they've had a patched up team. And even against Chelsea, 9 men, that was a patched up team. So technically, Spurs are playing with a 3rd string team right now.
So does that go back to your point then, that it doesn't matter which players you try and coach, because obviously you can have a full 11, but we obviously, looking at this, we don't have a squad, right? And I think we
Yeah.
proved that we don't have a squad. And some players, like your Eric Dyers, like your Ben Davises, I'm not going to give Emerson Royale. Like I said when he played left back, I'm not going to give him any gripe until he's playing right back.
Yeah.
That's his position.
Yeah.
You're literally putting him in different positions that he can't play, and we did think he was good enough right back, right? But to be fair to Spurs today, up until a certain Bentancur got injured, it wasn't looking good, right? Do we all agree?
Yeah. Yeah.
But then he brings on Højbjerg, and it just changes the game. So JJ,
Yeah.
why did it change so much when Højbjerg came on? Because to be fair to him, he's a good distributor of the ball, right? And he did lay some great passes. But why it just suddenly went in Villa's favour as soon as that substitution happened?
People might agree with or disagree with, and obviously that's entirely up to them. I always look at Højbjerg as somebody who, in a way, with the position that he plays, just for some reason, him and Tottenham now don't fit. It just feels like when you look at what he is about, and you look at the manager who brought him in, Jose Mourinho, a very defensively sounded manager. To me, it just feels like he sort of unbalances the team, particularly when also Skip come on. It almost, when you're trying to get back on the front foot, and okay, we can sit there and say that Bentancur is not a playmaker or anything like that, but he is more of a forward-thinking player, in my opinion, in terms of what Tottenham set out. When you look at Højbjerg, when he plays for Denmark, he plays further forward, so I know people say, but that's not his natural game. But that's the issue that we have. We are trying to fit him into something that I don't feel suits him, and I can see why, that we have players like him and Skip, because I think you have to look at both of those players when they came on the pitch, that they took the game backwards, and I'm not saying specifically they were to blame, but they do not suit, in my opinion. I think from what I've seen of them, I don't think either of them suit what Ange Postecoglou is trying to do, which are players that can be aggressive but go forward with confidence with the ball. It almost looks like with both of those players in particular, it's a case of I'll just pass to somebody else and they can deal with it. There's not that. One thing we've all seen, with Bentancur in particular, is there's a confidence to hold on to the ball. It's not a case of, I've just got to get rid of it quickly. It's a case of, if we're under the cosh a little bit, he can hold that ball up. He can just, take a few players out of the game and then move the ball forward. Whereas I just feel with Højbjerg, it is a case of, I've just got to get rid of the ball quickly. And I almost feel with him and Skip, there was that, when I saw them both come on, I genuinely felt, I don't think we're going to get anything from this, because with the game, when you look at particularly what Villa were trying to do, which was come back at us, those are two players that I just don't feel. I think they suited the likes of Antonio Conte, and I think they suited the likes of Jose Mourinho. I just don't feel they suit Postecoglou, and I think we'll probably see either one go on loan and one be sold, dependent on what we're able to do. But I think that is why, going back to your original question, why did the game change?
Yeah.
Is because the way that he plays, and then obviously, if you ask me about Skip, I've just answered it for you, basically.
All right. Why did Højbjerg suddenly
much
change the game?
Yeah, pretty much agree with Jay. Højbjerg he's a holding player. He's a player that you bring on to shore things up, to calm things down. That's his job role. He's not going to do anything fancy. Even if he tries, he'll overhit a pass. And as soon as, what was really good about Bentancur, and I've often said that I feel that Bentancur is slightly better than Bissama in that position, because Bentancur gets the ball, he can beat a couple of players, but he has vision. So he'll set that tempo really quickly. He's not going to dwell. He's not going to pass backwards. He's always looking, like Justin says, for the forward. When Pierre comes on, it's, get me the ball, I'll pass it to the defender, and then I'll go and try and be a central defender. If I get forward, it's because the manager tells me to get forward. And also what the difference is in that midfield, the whole Ange way of playing is pass and move. You pass the ball, you move into space. Pierre passes the ball and just stands there, right? Now, what was Bentancur doing? He was passing the ball, moving into space, which triggers a whole chain reaction of players moving. So I felt as soon as Pierre came on, I went, yeah, that's a gone. That's not gonna happen. It's not gonna. He's a player, like I said, he'll pass and just stand there and wait, and then pass it back, and then try and calm everything down. So yeah, it just took the whole momentum out of it. And I think with Bentancur getting injured and his previous injury, it was kind of like, you could feel it in the whole stadium. It was like, for flip's sake, like another injury. The guy's playing great, and another injury. Like, what more? What else? Is Son going to get injured against Man City? So yeah, I don't think it's just that game. I think it's proven that when Pierre comes on, he's meant to be the pinnacle pivot, and if he drops back, the whole team has to drop back. And if even Basama, he would drive forward, so it would keep that momentum going forward. So yeah, I think that's why. As I said, as soon as he came on, I was kind of like, yeah, it's not gonna. They've lost that spark, and it just happened. Villa got more foothold in the game, and they didn't have a fear anymore.
Tops. I don't know if you heard the question. You're on mute, by the way, just so because
Marlon, what's up, man? How are you?
You good?
Yeah.
Good. So I don't know if you heard the question. The question was, right, why did it suddenly change and go in more in Villa's favour as soon as that Bentancur-Højbjerg substitution happened? That's when, for me, the game changed. I don't know if you saw it the same way.
I just think we didn't finish our dinner. That's why it changed. If you finish 2 or 3 of those chances in that first 20 minutes,
Yep.
You give confidence to your defenders, you give confidence to your attackers. You don't put yourself in a position where a goal from Villa changes the game, or positional change or personnel change changes the fate of the game. I honestly feel we didn't win today because we didn't take our chances. I felt like, absolutely, I agree with a lot of what's been said. I feel like Bentancur at 6 gave us a lot of confidence there.
Mm-hmm.
If you watched his game against Bolivia midweek, he played a very similar role. It was against very sort of simple opposition, but lots of touches. He's very good technically. He sees passes very quickly. And actually, admittedly, I was surprised to see him start today. But actually, once he did start and I was watching him, I was like, okay, this is probably quite comfortable. And it was very comfortable, to be honest with you. I actually felt, funnily enough, the way Villa set up was actually quite naive. And they let us in time and time again.
Yeah. And
to be honest with you, us not finishing our dinner, us not taking our chances, us being offside far too much is what, in my opinion, killed the game. I feel like Højbjerg is... You're going to get what you're going to get with him.
Yeah.
And like, we can flog this horse till it's dead, but this is where we're at.
So, Tottenham, 62% of the possession compared to Villa's 38. We had a total of 18 shots, right, compared to Villa's 15. We had 8 on target, 9 off target, 1 blocked. Passing was at 90%. Justin, are we now starting to see what happens when you don't replace Kane with a clinical striker? I know Son has been doing the job, but you can't rely on one man to finish everything. And Son, I think Tops is right. I think Son was caught offside too many times today.
Oh yeah, absolutely. Honestly, when I saw that he got a hat trick of offsides, I was losing my shit at that, because I thought, I'm sorry, you can get caught once, twice, but you've got to be better than that to get caught 3 times offside. I thought that was a joke. Yes, in a nutshell. But what I would say to that is, and this is where I find it a little bit frustrating in terms of what was meant to be set out, because the idea of Ange ball was that it was interchangeable, so it wasn't a case of that we had an out-and-out number 9. It was meant to be that Johnson could play there, that Richarlison could play there. Other people were meant to be able to, so that he could switch people around and play different things. And one thing I did notice, and I find quite strange, is that whether it be him or the club, there's been a conversation, and they felt that him and Valise would be enough. Now, someone has to step in at that point to say, look, either you need to stick with what you've said, which is this is going to be interchangeable, or you need another number 9. Because if you're going to go without out and out number 9, as we've seen, South Korea are going to flog, Son like a dead horse. We're going to do it as well. So when is he going to get a break? We need to either, and as we saw when Valise came on, I'm sorry, he's not, he needs a loan. He needs to get some proper experience, whether it be the Championship or something else. He's just not cut out yet for the Premier League. And as me and you, Marlon, said, a lot of people raised their eyebrows when we signed him, thinking, are you sure? Because we don't think he's ready. And we're playing as if he is ready. So to me, that just felt very naive. So yes, I do feel that the club, took a big gamble by not replacing him. However, I do think some of this has to go on Postecoglou for this, because as I said, it was meant to be all interchangeable, and at the moment, it doesn't seem to be.
Warren, so just going on what Justin said, and same question, and this question's been brought up weeks. Why isn't an Ange adapting to the Premier League like most other managers would or have had to? Is he learning it the hard way, or is he just going to go, I'm going to play my way, I don't care what players I have?
Well, when Spurs went 10 games unbeaten, no one was questioning them. Not a single person was questioning them.
Yeah, of course they wouldn't. We had the players then.
Yes, exactly. But the thing is,
but there's it now. So this is where the manager needs to adapt.
Man City will play the same way. Liverpool will play the same way.
They don't.
The top teams,
they don't. They do.
Because Man City, they do play the same way. They absolutely play the same way. They might change players around. They might. Man City might have a different. No, changing players around doesn't mean you adapt. Now,
no, it does. Because if someone comes in, a certain player comes in, right? Man City will adapt now, right? Pep's done it because first season he tried it, right? He tried it, and his defense got absolutely annihilated, right? But if he doesn't have Cole Walker available, Cole Walker and Rico Lewis are complete two different players, right? So he doesn't make Rico Lewis do what Cole Walker's doing because he knows he's not going to get that output. He has learned that, and that's what he does. And everyone thinks, they play the same way. But certain players, if he's brought into a situation, they don't play the same way. Liverpool are a prime example of that, right? Where they don't play the same. Klopp hasn't played the same way for 7 years. He's tried to, but he hasn't had the midfield. This year, he's trying something slightly different, but he's adapting to what he's got.
Right. So what has Ange got at the moment?
He's got a bunch of players that can't play his football at the moment. Has he not?
Players, again, though, it's...
Defensively, he has nothing. Defensively, I can't count him.
So, the Ange way of playing is attacking fast pace. Spurs aren't getting beaten because of how they're playing. They're getting beaten because they haven't got two recognized centre backs. And the narrative could be, well, Spurs should protect them. Yes, but you can only protect them. So that's the midfield. So therefore, at the end of it all, if you look at those two goals, one came from a set piece and one came from good play. If Spurs were getting ripped apart by the high line or scoring chances, that hasn't been the case. So watching Ange's football, a lot of people say it's not like he doesn't have to adapt, but it does adapt. He does adapt because the players have to learn how to adapt when they're playing. Mm-hmm. And that's the thing. It's like interchangeable. Son wants to interchange. It's all kind of the missing piece for Spurs as well is that they don't have James Maddison, who is the architect to deciding when to speed things up. So if this was Spurs' full team and they were losing 3 in the bounce, then yes, I would say Ange has to adapt. He has to learn to do something. But this isn't Spurs' full team because even if Spurs got a defender in, it's going to be a defender who has pace because Ange will play the high line. And I'm just thinking that right now we're looking at and thinking he has to adapt. But how do you... He's not going to adapt a strategy that was working. And if Spurs was to have 2 centre backs right now, I think Spurs would still be winning because it's the pace, it's the movement, it's the
It's not again, so much. He has the players. There's a difference.
Yes, but it's the. But what I'm saying is it's not. But what I'm saying is it's what you want them to do because do you want Ange to go right? We don't have centre backs, so where we're going to play defensive. We're just going to put anyone behind the ball and hope for the best.
No. No, we're
So
looking.
what's he meant to do?
He's meant to protect them because leaving them exposed, we're gonna. How many goals have we conceded in the last how many games? Okay, count Chelsea
Yes, but
out.
if you look at when those
But we're conceding goals like left, right, and centre. And I get today, right? And I get today is a lack of finishing. Is a lack of finishing.
It's not left, right, and centre. If you look at when the goals are conceded, it's because they don't have two recognised centre backs.
But you're saying we don't have two recognised centre backs, right? So again, you have to protect them.
Yes, but you can only protect them for so long. That's what I'm saying. You can only protect them. It doesn't matter if you protect them.
Whose fault is it that we haven't got no recognised centre backs? Because we all said in the summer.
Nobody's. If you want to say, if you want to blame someone, if you want to blame someone, you blame Romero because Romero's the one who's got sent off.
Yeah.
Even if I know the narrative, like I said, the narrative is going to be Ange wanted a centre back. They couldn't get it done.
Ashley Phillips and Ashley Phillips should have played today, right? From what the rumours is,
he's 18 years old. He's 18
I know,
years old. What if
I get that, but it's not that. But he would have been the recognised centre back today, but he got injured.
Yes, but he's 18 years old. He's 18 years old playing in the Premiership. But one mistake or one error can rip his confidence apart. It's easy for fans to say, play that player. But we have to understand that if Ashley Phillips had played against Wolves and against today, and he made mistakes, that's his confidence wrecked. That's his confidence gone. So that's why Andy
So you bring in players, yeah. So from your statement, you bring in players
18 years old, yes.
No. But listen. But you bring in players like Royale, Ben Davis, Dyer, right, who've just made mistakes for their whole career at Spurs and made mistakes in all these games. Okay, apart Ben Davis didn't make a mistake. Actually, for the second goal, he's not a centre back, so that thing's gonna what Watkins done to him is gonna happen. But them three are making mistakes, so you're in a lose-lose situation, aren't you? Not.
But with Ben Davies and Emerson Royale, they're more experienced, so they can recover. With Ashley Phillips being 18 years old, he makes mistakes, goes on social media, people are slating him. He's not ready.
But I'm not saying Ashley Phillips.
I do want to ask one question. Okay, and this is more to Orin. What I would like to know then is obviously I get your argument. I get where that stands. That's absolutely fine. What is the difference then between Spurs and every other club in the Premier League? Because we take Newcastle, for example, who started the game with a 17-year-old and didn't sit there at any point and think we're gonna take a risk because they had injuries. They had injuries like we do. They've got loads of players out, but they took a gamble, and we don't seem to. Chelsea
have done it. Liverpool have done it.
What position they play?
When Liverpool had centre back problems, they played young players.
17-year-old against Chelsea.
What position was that 18-year-old kid
It's in the
playing?
midfield. It's in the midfield. So Jamie Donnelly is younger.
Not the same as defender.
No, but what I'm saying is you can still turn round. We didn't even bring Jamie Donnelly on. But regardless of the centre backs, we didn't bring him on.
The centre backs. It's a centre back position is not. Think about it. Look through the entire history of the Premiership. When has there ever been an 18-year-old centre back starting for a team in the Premiership? Name one.
I'll be able to find that. That won't take long. Don't
Liverpool
worry.
when Van Dijk got injured because Nat Phillips came
When did Liverpool play an 18-year-old centre back in both starting games in the Premiership?
I'm pretty sure Nat Phillips was 18 when he was around.
And who was he playing next to? Yeah, but when did he? Like, what I'm saying is, you're talking about Ashley Phillips. He's 18 years old. He hasn't even played in the Premiership. He hasn't had any experience.
But we're not even asking for Ashley Phillips to play today because he could play anyway, right? What we're saying is, right, the whole point of this whole question was, again, if you're playing Royale and Ben Davis at centre back, you have to protect them. Because they're not your centre backs.
That falls on the midfield players though. So why? So you blame Pierre and Skip?
That's already
playing those two. Right. So again, it's.
But then this is what
I think we're just. Every time Spurs lose, fans are looking for who to blame. I've said it before. Spurs are playing with a patched up team. You can blame Ben Davies, you can blame Levy, but the truth of the matter is, Spurs are playing with a patched up team. They're playing with two right backs as defenders. Not only that, they're missing James Maddison. And it's the flow.
Okay.
They don't have
question. And before I bring Tops in, the question though, you're saying we're playing with a patched up team, but we only lost two centre backs. And yet we're still no. I'm talking about defensive.
Sarr was out today. Sarr was out today.
No, because actually, I want to talk about the midfield in a bit, but let's talk about the centre backs, right? We're playing with 2 fullbacks. We only lost 2 centre backs in the summer. What team goes into a season with 2 recognised centre backs?
Well, Dyer's a centre back, but again, it was Spurs. You see, again, when there's Spurs fans who think it's easy to go and get it. Spurs did try to find a centre back, but it's not easy to try and find a centre back that was good as Romero or Van de Ven, or a centre back who wants to come in and just sit on the bench. So yes, it's like, whose fault is it? Again, because Spurs are losing, Spurs fans have to have a blame. So that eventually he's going to run down. Blame Levy for not doing this. Blame Ange for not doing this. Truth of the matter is, Spurs are playing with a patched up team. And if they were playing poorly and losing, then yeah, fair enough. But they're not.
They did play poor against Wolves. They did play poor against Wolves.
Yes, but that came after.
Today, to Tops, no, I'm just going to bring Tops in because he did say, right, that it was down to missed chances, right? But the problem you've got in the Premier League is, right, when you play against a team like Villa, or you play against even a Brighton right now, right, and you're playing with this sort of team, and you allow them chances, which Spurs and Ange is going to do with 2. Let's be honest, 2 fullbacks, centre back, we're going to get punished. So what do? Do you just play the same way and say we miss chances, or do you play this way and get to a point and go, you have to protect? What do you do? Do you keep it the same?
You play the same way. You play the same way. Yeah.
Or
you keep going. You don't stop.
No, I absolutely like. I very much hear you guys' points of views in the sense that top managers, they make changes, they make tweaks, but generally their philosophies are kind of the same.
Yeah.
I just feel that it's actually a testament to what he's trying to do at Spurs. I really do agree with what he's saying, in the sense that I would actually rather us continue playing in this way and actually have to... One thing I was talking to one of my friends about the other day was that one thing that Man City do well is that they know how to suffer well. And when I say suffer well, it means that they will go through bad patches, whether it's form, whether it's results, but they will continue to play the same way because they know that there's going to be moments where there's going to be teams who might be fitter, stronger, less tired, but it's still not going to change the way in which they implement their style on another team. And I actually think that's probably one of the most, you might call it selfish things to do as a coach, because you're going to put your players, and I know you're using this term protect, but you're going to put players at a situation whereby they're constantly fighting against what everyone is saying that they should be doing and what they probably naturally should be doing. But actually, I think the best thing we can actually do is continue to play this way. And the reason I think it's a big positive, and I know it's difficult because we've lost today, but you look at the match statistically, we were so much better than them. We had a team, not just defense, but a team that was...
I get that, but we did allow 15. We did allow 15 shots against us.
But then, if you look at our statistics throughout the season, generally, this is how we've been playing. We've been playing where
we don't give up that many, though. I don't get what you're saying. We don't give up that many.
We're allowing teams to take shots. We've been even some games high XG chances as well. But today, with a patched up team, you know what our XG was? 2.4. Do you know what Villa's XG today was? 1.6. But
I don't. Okay, but I have to say, with XG, right, there's so many factors about XG that don't bring into the situation, right? So say Harry Kane and Son are in the same situation. The XG doesn't change for which players in that situation. It doesn't change if Van Dijk's playing or whether you're playing against whoever. It's all down to chance and created. So
which is absolutely fine. Which is fine.
But there's so much you can't. But XG. But you say that our XG is this or XG is that. But at the end of the day, the result says Tottenham 1, Aston Villa 2.
Which is fine. But then you have to then look at the context of that, because if you look at the Villa team that played, that's essentially their first team, and we were a team that was basically at 50%.
Yeah,
and we were still able to create that amount of quality of chances with that personnel. Surely that should indicate to you that if you're looking at the way that we play and the way that we create chances, that's actually fairly sustainable. Because if you look at the way we played under Mourinho, Conte, Nuno,
okay, but that's fine.
That's sustainable.
Yeah, but that's fine. But then you have to look at the Wolves game and go, okay, slightly different. Okay, Benson Cole wasn't in there.
Yeah,
but we were poor.
I mean, again, this is why I use this term. Sometimes teams need to know how to suffer well. the teams that you come up to in the Premier League are already of high quality. Every week that you turn up against a team in the Premier League, it's not going to be a walkover, but it's not also going to be fucking, it's not going to be a 10-10 game that you're going to perform. On that day, we lost a specific number of people in the sense that we had suspensions, we had injuries, and obviously as well, you have to take into account that throughout the season, up to this 12th, 13th game that we've played, we've actually been able to develop partnerships between players. On the right-hand side, the partnership between Porro, Sarr, and Kulusevski has been very positive. In the midfield, the connections between Bissouma, Sarr, and Bentancur. On the middle areas between Maddison and Son, that's been a very good partnerships. And sometimes I think fans don't realize that when you build these connections, when you build these relationships, it actually helps the way that the team plays, and actually it garners more sort of positive play, whether it's how you progress or whether it's how you sustain pressure in the final third. You now go into that game against Wolves where we've lost not just one, but we've lost two of our centre-backs. So automatically the relationship between Vicario and Darian Davies is off. We then lose Maddison. The relationship between Bissouma, Sarr, and whoever comes in is off. Or we lose Udogi, and you're having to now play players in different positions. The relationship between the guys that usually play there is off. So honestly, you go into that Wolves game and actually you think, this is difficult. This is not ideal. And we didn't play well that day. And to be honest with you, there's going to be some days that you get that. And what's hilarious about that Wolves game was that we suffered well that day. If you really think about it, we suffered well that day. We literally went into that game, we scored early, and we went to the 90th minute and we were looking at a victory. And like the Premier League is, the Premier League's a humbler. It will turn.
It will punish you, yeah.
And 6 minutes of chaos is what happens. And that's why when I was listening to Ange, I was like, he should be more disappointed. But I think he felt, based on a number of things that I've said, like the personnel, the changes that were made, the pressure that we were put under, like, it's difficult. Like, I don't like people calling Ange naive, because when someone is naive, it means that they are doing things that they don't know what's going to happen as a consequence of it. And if anything, I think he is more stubborn as a coach as opposed to naive. I think he absolutely knows how he wants to play and how he wants us to set up. And he probably sees things and sees it in a negative or positive way, however you might look at it. But I don't think he's going into this not knowing what is going to happen at the end of it. And that's why I don't feel like particularly, like today, I don't feel particularly upset. Like, obviously, you're losing 3 points. You want to win as many, you want to get as many points. You know, arguably, we've probably overperformed it as the season so far. But I feel like there's lots of positives to take today. Like, we put in 4 players back into that first team. Maddison, Bissouma, Van de Ven, Romero. I'm telling you, we smashed the shit out of Villa today.
Yeah. that's the...
I do want to talk about one positive. I want to say we smashed the shit out of Villa, but I'd say we performed well enough that we should have won the game, right? But I do want to talk about 2 positives, right? And 2 things that had changed today. He brought the Celso back, and he actually played Kulu in the number 10, which personally, that's probably his best game he's had all season. Today, I thought he's been a bit more. He created a lot more. I think he was unpredictable in that number 10 compared to what he's used to on the right. And I get what you were saying earlier, but even Porro seemed to have such a better game with Kulu not on that right-hand side. We're having Brennan Johnson on there. So is this something that we're going to see now going forward, that actually Brennan Johnson is going to be played more on the right? And can Kulu cover the hole that Maddison's left? Justin?
I think, to be fair, it's something that we needed to see. I think a lot of fans have been calling for it, and I was surprised we haven't seen it when, after Maddison got injured against Chelsea, I was surprised that we didn't sort of see him try it at Wolves. I thought it was a lot of strange selection in the Wolves game, but in this game, he's tried it, and I think actually, he did. I think, and as I said, I think there were some players that it did seem to suit that sort of style. As I said, the front, that middle 3 of Kulusevski, Lo Celso and Bentancur really did seem to control the midfield. And as we said earlier, the moment they took off Bentancur for Højbjerg, I think it did change the game. And then obviously, when we brought on Skip as well. But I think
Emery did make a slight tweak at half time as well. He did.
Yeah.
And I think we're failing to, because I think we were so good in the first half, which we were. But I think second half we weren't as good as we were in the first.
But then ultimately we didn't have that middle three. I think to be fair, they complemented each other. I think what we probably would have seen in training was that Ange probably did, try and work on that. And I think to be fair, maybe that's where actually the argument goes against the fact that he's not adaptable, because he has tried something different. He has brought that, Kulusevski into a different role. And to be fair, we saw something that actually I think we all agreed worked. So, I think it's going to be clear that setup is probably what we're going to see against City. Let's just hope Bentancur can come back in, and we'll just see where we go from there, and then hopefully we won't get absolutely battered. But I think we do, as much as we can be frustrated with the game, I think there were players out there who can hold their heads up. I thought Pedro Porro is really growing as a right back, and perhaps maybe that will make Royal move on, because I just don't see how he gets in ahead of Porro. I think he is absolutely rubber stamped that position for himself. I thought Lo Celso, Kulusevski, as we agreed, and Bentancur, they all played well. I think it is just that fact that the others either need to be more flexible or maybe just a bit more adaptable. But as a positive, that is definitely one of them.
Oren, talking about Kulu as number 10 and Lo Celso coming in, because Lo Celso is probably one of them guys that a lot of our Spurs fans wanted out. He just wasn't. He didn't want to be here. We didn't want him. But actually today, he's probably put in a half decent performance. And actually, from what we saw in pre-season of him in this Ange system, we were all quite surprised the last couple of weeks, especially against Wolves, that he didn't start.
Well, it's been a case of injury, and Lo Celso did score the goal as well. And I thought, like, Cooley, what I noticed in the game is that, I don't know if it happened straight after half-time, but at some point during half-time, Cooley actually switched with Johnson, and he actually went and played in his normal position.
Yep.
I'm not so sure if Cooley...
When Skip came on, I think. When Skip came on, Cooley went back out to the right.
I'm not so sure if... Yes, I can see Cooley as a number 10, but I'm just not so sure he's that... I think he's better where he is. And next, against Man City, Bissamo comes back. And that'll be really interesting to see who he puts in the midfield three. Because I feel like if Bentancur is fit, I honestly think that Ange's vision is to have Bentancur where he played today, Bissamo where Sarr is, and Maddison where, is a number 10. Mm-hmm. But if Maddison got injured, it would be Lo Celso. So if Bentancur comes back and he's fit enough, we could possibly see that three in the middle with Kulusevski moving back to the left. I think it would take a run again for Kulusevski to really adapt to that, but I think he might be too positioned, in his position to like truly transform. Because yes, he played good, but I just think Lo Celso would be a better number 10 than Cooley would be. I think Lo Celso, he scored the goal, and the more runs he gets in that team, he has the passing range and he has that drive to get forward. Cooley for me is a bit of a gun shy. He kind of pulls back. So yeah, like I didn't think Cooley did much to like justify why, he didn't do anything for me that would say, yeah, he should start as number 10. I think Lo Celso did far more, because Lo Celso actually played as a double pivot with Bentancur.
Because he played more Passar position, I think, and Lo Celso did.
And
I think it was the fact is, I think with Cooley, I think what became really frustrating when he did go back over to the right was how many times he could have crossed it, he cuts back, and when the first half he wasn't really doing that, and I just think, I can't remember his through ball to whoever, he just instinctively played it through and didn't even think about it, and I think he was doing a lot more in the middle than he usually does on the right. I think on the right he's a bit
Yeah.
more predictable. But he could do so much more because I think we've been asking questions for him for weeks, and actually I thought his first half performance was better than his second. That was me personally, but obviously you agree he's better on the right.
Yeah, I just think Ange played him there because he can test it out, which, again, in hindsight, this is a great opportunity for testing out players, different positions, because the way I'm looking at, obviously when Spurs lose, you go onto YouTube and Twitter, there's not a single Spurs fan. Well, there is. Of course, there is, like the young ones or people who've made bets. But I think a lot of pundits are going, we understand the situation. And I think, yes, Cooley might be able to play there, though it's very difficult to adapt to a new position straight away. Whereas,
to be fair, he has played there for Juventus. He has played there for Juventus. This is not a new. This is. I think when he came to us and he played on the right, that was new for him. More new than playing the center.
I think he always played on the right.
He played more centrally for Juventus,
and he played. Palmer as well.
Yeah.
Sorry?
He played more essentially for Palmer as well.
Well, I don't know. I just think if I had to pick who plays number 10, I'd pick Lo Celso over him, and I'd put Kulusevski, because I think Kulusevski, the one thing that's getting more and more kind of, I wouldn't say, I don't get frustrated at players because I'm not playing on the pitch, you know what I mean? So I don't know what they're going through. It's just, I wish that Kulusevski could just take more shots. He can do it. He cuts in and it's like, right, what am I going to do? And as you were saying, Tops, like the chances that were created that was the thing missing. I think what Ange has to do is go, right, guys, if you get the opportunity, take a flipping shot. Don't try and pass it or do tiki-taka, Barcelona, beautiful goal. Take a shot. Get through, take a shot, test the keeper. And I think with Kulu, every time he cuts in, you go, right, cross it or take a shot. Do something with it. Whereas he doesn't. So maybe Ange plays him at number 10 and he shines. Though, again, what do you do when Maddison's fit? That's another thing you got to realize. Like, when Maddison comes back, you put Kulusevski and it's like, right, you're great there, but we're going to move you back over there.
If he's playing well enough, you just keep him there. If he's playing well enough to keep Maddison out the team for a couple.
Maddison then?
No, I get what you're saying, but let's look at it like this, right? If Kulu goes and plays there, right? Let's take today's game. If Kulu goes and plays there, right? Romero's back after the Man City game, right? And Kulu goes to play there from West Ham onwards, and we go on this winning run, and Kulusevski ends up playing actually exceptional at number 10. You just don't. This is what competition's about. You don't just bring Maddison back in because he's suddenly fit. I get the fact he was playing great before he fit. But at the end of the day, this is what it's all about: competition for places. If it comes down to it that Kulusevski's playing that well in that position at the time, you just go with it until Kulu doesn't perform. When Maddison comes back, and then you change it. Is that not? This is what football's about. I get though. But the reason why we're complaining right now is because Maddison's gone and we've got nobody, right? Because there's no one to take that position.
I'm not saying that. I think Lo Celso is a perfect replacement. It's not a perfect. Lo Celso can do what Maddison can do.
Okay, but to answer your question, then you're answering a question. To answer you back to you, what happens if, like you said, it becomes Bentancur, Bissouma, and Lo Celso? And them three play really well together. We go on this run. They play actually it's been a better three than the three we had before. Do you bring Maddison straight back into it, or do you just go?
Yeah, you still bring Maddison. Maddison is just
what
because the reason I say that is because Maddison has been drilled in with this team. Maddison. When Maddison was playing, he was the one who can start off an attack at a sixpence.
I get that.
Lo Celso and Kulusevski can't do that. Maddison didn't just play as a number 10. He was playing wide. He was dropping back. He was everywhere in that pitch.
Okay, but that's what I'm saying. And I'm going to ask Tops this as well, because if say it does become those three in the next few weeks, and we start going on a winning run, Tops said something earlier. It becomes about relationships. If Bentancur, Bissouma, and Lo Celso strike up a great relationship, why do you suddenly just bring Maddison back? Because what about if Maddison comes in and they don't have the same chemistry?
So,
I'm not saying here. I'm not saying. Do you get what I'm saying? I'm not saying Maddison. I'm not saying Maddison not start because Maddison's been the best player this season.
I get your point. But for me personally, I think there's a bigger picture to the way that our attack is built. And I actually feel that our attack is best built with Kulusevski playing on the right. I actually think we're only having to play him purely because we're literally in a situation whereby we've been met with lots of injuries and suspensions. But like I said, if you look back at the way that we've been playing this season, and you just look at it from the eye test, but also statistically, a lot of our attacks are developed on the right-hand side. A lot of our passing lanes, especially into the channels, are straight into him. If we're looking at it from a field tilt perspective, how much possession are we sustaining in opposition halves? A lot of it is in the right-hand side with Kulusevski. And then if you even start looking specifically more at his numbers, you're looking at things such as progressive passes into the boxes, successful passes into the boxes, receptions in the final third. A lot of them are built around Kulusevski playing on that right-hand side. So I just think at this point, whilst I really do appreciate that today he played quite well, I actually feel that the way he was building up was perfect. He was providing lots of different overloads when he was in that sort of middle right area with Johnson to start with. And then I actually really liked how he was providing those overloads on the right, and Hill was providing lots of width, natural width on that left-hand side. But I do feel, and I genuinely do mean this, in the truest form, Maddison is the player to play in that advanced 8/10 role for Postecoglou, purely because, one, he has the ability to help progress the ball in the first phase, but two, he picks up space really well in the final third. And the third thing that I think is the most important thing in this system is that he has the ability to play that killer, that final ball. And I just feel that lots of these different things, some of the players have some of these sort of traits, but Maddison is the one player, in my opinion, that has all. When I think of Lo Celso, I actually think stylistically he's probably the closest to Maddison, in the sense that his receptions, especially in the final third, his ability to turn on the half turn, where he picks up the ball in the final third, and even just the way he's able to create attacking situations, whether it's with goals and assists. I just think, on a negative point of view for him, he's extremely one-footed. I feel like he has to receive the ball in a certain way for him to be able to play comfortably. I think he's a little bit lightweight, and I don't think he's amazing in first phase build-up. So I just think those little things they go down on him. But in terms of Lo Celso's performance today, I think moving forward, if he can, I think we'll continue with this. And again, things changed a little bit today. We were unfortunate with the Bentancur injury. Hill, who I think played okay, he gassed out. I think as well, Bentancur, had he continued, he probably would have gassed out as well.
Mm-hmm. So I'm going to stay with you for this last question.
Yeah.
Because you've kind of gone with some of the answers. City next week.
Yeah.
What do you do? Do you keep it the same, or what do you change? Because we could not. If we're being completely honest about the situation, right?
Yeah.
If we gave up 15 shots to City, it's not going to be the same result.
It could be 10-0. Absolutely. Yeah. City is a funny one. It's a funny one. I was thinking about it today after the game. For me, I think this will be a game that I think he will genuinely take into account how City play.
Okay.
So if you just look at just the way that they build, they don't really build centrally anymore. They largely build predominantly through the flanks, whether it's Bernardo Silva as a half 8, or whether it's literally as a winger in Doku or Grealish.
So quick question: do you think that, actually, because that's a great point that you just said, and I'm glad you said that. Yeah. Do you think they're going to put Doku against Porro? Because Porro, even though he's won I think he's won the most tackles, but he's been dribbled past the most as well as a right back. Everyone is exploiting that right hand side for us.
I mean, if you look at the way that we attack as a team, and actually how we set up, you would be an idiot as a coach to not try and exploit the fullback areas. It would be stupid for you not to. So this is why I feel like in these bigger games, there's been a reason why people like Sterling and Palmer and Saka, a lot of these guys have had a lot of fun, because the way that we build up is a 2-3-5. We do leave a lot of space in those areas, and that's why people like Porro and Udogie tend to get lots of yellow cards, because they're having to track back, make challenges kind of late, and also there's lots of balls in those areas. So I feel that we're going to have to set up in a way that's probably going to be 5 or 10 yards back from where we probably start. Do I think he's going to go with the same defensive? I don't know, because I feel like he's going to have one physical presence to just stay with Haaland, which I think is manageable. I think he actually may revert to Dyer, because I just feel like he's probably looking at today, and I don't think Emerson and Davies had bad games defensively, but there are some moments when you're like, a centre-back who's a natural centre-back, his position is there, or he makes that touch, or he makes that decision. And they just, today, unfortunately, there were just moments that they didn't do that. So I actually think maybe Dyer may come back into the team next week, because I think he'd probably want to have someone who could somewhat physically imposing with Haaland. With regards to the midfield, they're extremely strong. They're very good. And obviously they use fullbacks very similarly to us in the way that they invert. So while I don't think it will be a battle in terms of the numbers, I think it will largely be just one-on-one matchups. I think Rodri, exceptional. Basuma coming back will probably be good for us as well. Who do I think would probably play? I still think Lo Celso will probably play, because sometimes that's like floating centre back doesn't tend to do their job that well. So I think he can maybe get some joy there. And then the only other position after that for me would just be between whether Sarr's fit or whether Bentancur comes back, which I would still go with Sarr. I feel like Sarr's off the ball work is excellent. Whilst he's not an amazing attacking threat, he does have a fair amount of continuity in that midfield with those guys in there. And like I said, off the ball, he's tireless. He tends to win a lot of balls, a lot of duels. He gets around the pitch quite easily as well.
JJ, Man City.
Yeah, I mean,
what you do?
Interesting. I think looking at the start, I mean, obviously it will depend on Bentancur's injury. Hopefully it was just a knock, and it will be a case of he'll be fit.
Let's just take Bentancur's going to be out now in Spurs this season. He's out. All right. So Basuma's back. So Basuma's going to replace Bentancur.
So if we're going down that route, I kind of get what we're saying here. I do feel that a lot of it is probably going to be the same. I think, as you say, Bentancur for Basuma. I think we might see either Davies or Royal coming out and Dyer coming in, because I think, as we saw, it was 4 fullbacks, and it just, there was that bit where there was just that cohesion amongst the 4 of them, for particularly at the back there, really. So I think maybe that's where he will come in. I don't think we'll see, if Phillips was fit or if Dorrington. I don't think that. I think it's going to be either the back 4 we saw, or it's going to be, Dyer for one of either Ben Davies or Emerson Royal. As I say, it will be Lo Celso, Basuma, Kulusevski, and then probably will be, as we saw, I think he'll go with Johnson, he'll go with Heel, and he'll go with Son, because, ultimately, when we look at the game, we have our frustrations and things that annoyed us, but ultimately up till, about 40 minutes, we were dominating the game. And yes, okay, this is City, it's a completely different game. But ultimately, he's got to build something. Let's face facts. He's not going to be able to change too much. We saw it from our bench that, we saw once we brought on Højbjerg and once we brought on Skip, that actually it was detrimental to how we wanted to play. So you almost think, as Ange is trying to implement his style on this team, I just don't see how many others are going to come off the bench and be able to do that. So, yes, it could be a 5-2 or a 6-3, who knows? But I do just feel that apart from, possibly, Eric Dyer and, as you say, Basuma, I think it'll probably be the same. I really don't think he'll change anything, because I think he'll take a lot of positives from that game, and he'll think, right, if we can continue to implement and build on those, yes, we might not get lucky against Man City, but we might get lucky against, we could then be really building something ready for the West Ham game.
Oh, the vein in my backside. Tell me what's happening next week.
Yeah, I think Dyer was going to come in. Like Tops, I think I pretty much agree with what Tops was saying. Like, basically, Eric Dyer coming in for that presence to match Haaland. And I do think that even if Bentancur is fit, I think Basuma will start, and he probably will start with Bentancur. And probably Lo Celso. If Sarr's fit, I do agree that Spurs did miss that energetic start today. That like guy could run up down the pitch, so he might start. But yeah, I do think that's probably going to be the one change, just Dyer coming in. Hopefully, because even as I say, even if say you said Bentancur's injured, so Bissama's going to replace him. Sarr and probably also with Kulu on the left and Johnson, where he started today, and like that's all Ange can do, and hopefully the Spurs history against Man City, Spurs winning. I mean, it's a weird game. It's always a weird game, and I think it's going to be interesting because the one thing is that each game passes brings Spurs back to the original team. That's the thing, and it's just right now it's kind of like riding it out, and whatever happens. I don't have any expectations, as I said. Like Spurs win, good. If they draw, good. If they lose, it is what it is. Like to me, it's kind of understanding the situation, and all the players are being tested. Because Ange's not going to tweak it. He's going to go, right, you're going to play this style of football, and it'll be a good game. I just think it's going to be one of the, whether it's 6-1 or 6-2, that's what I heard for the last 4 years from Spurs fans.
Ain't gonna be that bad.
It doesn't matter if we get beat 6-0 or 6-1. We just want attacking football. We just want Spurs to go all out. You're getting that now. That's what every fan's getting. Yeah. So
agreed.
That's what you all want. This is what you're going to get. So like Tops was saying earlier, when Spurs lose, suffer, because they're not losing by playing defensive, boring football. They're losing by not finishing chances, because if Spurs finish amount of chances,
do you know what?
We'll be laughing.
You know what's really funny? We didn't finish our chances today, and we created so many. But under bloody Conte, we'd be finishing them, but we wouldn't have created like half of them. It's just the weirdest situation to be in. Yeah. Right? It's so dumb. I don't get it, but it's football for
it's
you.
Because one player.
Yeah, we did have Kane. To be fair,
everyone in world football knows that if Kane had stayed, you don't want to even imagine. If Kane was in the Spurs team, even if you don't even want to imagine where Spurs would be, because he would be finishing those chances off.
Yeah, there's some games this season where I think there's 2 games this season. I think if we'd have had Kane, there would have been a slightly different result, as in not a great one. But then there'd be games like today and Wolves last week where I think we'd have won if we'd had Kane, if I'm being completely honest. However,
he's not there.
He's not there. Right. So actually, today, to be honest, I was just questioning that. I enjoyed today's performance so much. And the one thing I disagree with all of you. Well, I don't know who said it actually. I think Top said it and JJ. I don't want Dyer to come back in next week. I don't care. I don't want him to come back. I want it to be the same too.
Yeah.
Right. Yeah. And maybe. Look, at the end of the day, like I said earlier, and this is why I mentioned it. I think the only reason why those two got exposed a bit more was because Højbjerg came on, and even though he was good on the ball, off the ball, I don't think Højbjerg's very good. And I think that was where the problem was. Right, because he wasn't doing what Bentancur was doing in those first 20, 25 minutes.
It was just brilliant. It was really brilliant watching him. And you're right. Like the defense wasn't getting tested because Bentancur was just demanding the ball, driving forward, having the front foot. I think that's what Bissama will offer, though. I don't really think that Ben Davies or Real can handle Haaland. I mean, he's a beast. Not even Van Dijk.
But you're asking to put someone like Eric Dyer in there who can't handle him either. So you might as well just go with the two.
Well, at least he's got the same strength.
Yeah, but what I'm saying is, but when we play West Ham, I'd rather not see Dyer in the team at all. I don't want to see Dyer again. I'd rather it be the two that we had today. And it was great. And this Ange for me today, and this is why I wanted him as our manager, is because he saw 2 problems against Wolves that I saw. Højbjerg and Dyer were 2 problems. And he didn't care that he was putting a right back at centre back today, right? Because like you two both said, how well did we play and how good were we? And then it took the one man that he dropped in that midfield, right? Because he didn't just put, let's be honest, he put Lo Celso in there. He didn't even think about putting Højbjerg in there. He put Lo Celso, who's a more attacking player, and who will fall, oh, hold on, he's playing him more deeper. But he's gone and changed it, and he's seen that those two are a problem. One, for me, Højbjerg off the ball is a problem. And Dyer just gets caught too much, right? And Dyer could have a good 88 minutes, but he'll get caught in the last 2. Guard Tops.
for me, I think the
No,
reason
I was
why-
just agreeing with you. I was agreeing with you, Marlon. Literally agreeing with you.
the reason, the way I look at it, it's like the reason why Dyer didn't play is because Collie Watkins and Aston Villa front line are pretty fast. They're really fast. So therefore, like, I know Holland is fast, though I just think that it could start. I just think Dyer being a natural centre back might just be able to, I wouldn't say,
Actually, you know
just
what?
offer a bit more.
I get what you're saying. I get what you're saying.
Like,
I've seen it.
I don't
I've
want
seen
Dyer
it.
back in.
Yeah,
I don't think
I've
any Spurs
I
fans
think we're
want
just
Dyer
going to have
back
to
in.
wait and see what comes
Yeah,
up.
it's going to be interesting.
We'll have to see what Ange wants to go with. I think that's going to be the clearest part.
Boys, I want to
Yeah.
wrap this up. But no,
Yeah.
JJ, thank you for coming on. Always comes on, and thank you for staying. Tops, thank you very much. And make sure you go and subscribe to New Spurs Order with the boys. A lot of them have been on this channel as well, and they're brilliant. And with Oren, please don't follow him.
I don't know anything to follow. I just go on your streams now.
But nah, thank you for coming on.
Yeah.
And you know what? Hopefully, with the way run we're on, knowing us, we'll probably bloody win next week. Knowing Spurs.
Yeah, that's the thing. That's a crazy thing about it. It's
Knowing Spurs will probably go and win next week, and it will be like
Spurs. That's the thing. Like, yes, Spurs have lost 3 games, but I've been entertained. I cannot say, like, even today I would say the only player I wouldn't say.
Wait.
Okay,
Don't say
we're
Wolves
getting
were
far too optimistic here. They're getting far too
You
optimistic.
not say you were entertaining against
Spurs
Wolves.
back.
Look,
Yeah.
Chelsea was an anomaly, right? So you take it, right? We all took it. Wolves, we were poor. Like, I know we went 1-0 up. We were great for 2 minutes, and then we were poor. It was really weird to see. Today was complete. I completely agree with you guys. And the fact is, we were actually really good. And even when Højbjerg did come on, right, we still had the chance. Second half, I think he made the tweak, and that's what kind of done it. But it is what it is.
Whoa. Just before you go, Marlon, you said Ange doesn't tweak his system, but now you're saying he did make a tweak.
No, it was Emery tweaked it. I said Emery tweaked it. Emery tweaked it in the second half. Yeah, Emery tweaked it because he knew what the problem
Ange
was.
doesn't tweak the formation at all. He doesn't adapt.
No, he just. We'll see. I haven't seen him do it yet.
Let's reconvene this next Sunday.
Yeah. Let's see.
Yes,
Let's see
yeah,
what he does next week. For me, I don't think he should tweak it next Sunday. I think he should just go out because it's a free hit. He does. It's a free hit, so don't tweak it.
It's a free hit.
Go and play your football and see what it is up against them. See what we can do.
You get beat, you get beat. If you don't,
It'll be fun. It'll be
played
fun.
your way, you got a result. And again, like very much like you said, I actually don't mind because I am comfortable knowing that we are playing attacking, progressive, sustainable football. It doesn't bother me. I know it sounds defeatist because as a football fan, you want to win, you hate losing, but actually I can see a direction. I can see a trajectory. I can see that clearly with more coaching, with better personnel in specific positions, it will come together. So at this point,
let's hope we get the better personnel because that's the only thing that's going to stop us right now.
Yeah, Man City away it's a free hit for everyone. I mean, like the only people that can really go there
is that,
give them a game is like Liverpool.
Yeah, which they did.
You know, and they did. Like,
but you say Arsenal, but Arsenal in the last game that Arsenal played at the Emirates, right? You compare it to last year. Arteta had to adapt because he was naive last year.
Of course he did.
And he went really defensive. He went more defensive this year and made sure they were more protected. And they got Rodri missing as well. But Man City didn't win a game.
Mm-hmm.
That's the weirdest thing. We've got all these men missing. Man City only have to miss one man, and they go to pot. So it is what it is. But guys, thank you very much.
Let's talk about this all the time.
Thank you very much.
Keep that positivity.
Yeah. Let's keep positive. Let's go into next week, and hopefully we will be, and hopefully one of you guys will come back on as well next week, and hopefully be happy as well. But thank you all. Thank you to everyone in the chat. You've been brilliant. Please make sure you tune in on Tuesday at 9:30 for me and Ash, where he goes through the game today, and we'll talk about what Ange did. Did he tweak it? Let's see what we do on Tuesday. And then they got the rival show on Wednesday, which hopefully, obviously, all the rivals going to be taking the piss out of us. But who cares? But back next week. And hopefully, Royale is centre back, the man of the hour who loves. But hopefully, he's centre back next week because I don't want to see Dyer. I don't care. But thanks all. As always, come on, you Spurs.
Come on, you Spurs.